now from the IBA at Winchester, engineering announcements for the radio and television trade.
Hello and welcome to this week's Bulletin of Engineering Information from the IBA.
Today we hear from Pat Hawker about progress on a whole range of audio and video technologies. We've information on visits for the trade to and from Crawley Court. In transmitter news, special announcements for Carradon Hill and other existing stations, and full details of one new relay at Stenning in West Sussex.
But first, Pat Hawker, and to talk to him we're delighted to welcome back after a long absence Peter Ashforth.
I must say it's very nice to be back here chatting to you again, Pat, after a period of about 3 or 4 years. And so I thought this morning I'd ask you about progress during those years in some of the favourite old areas that we used to talk about. Now let me ask you first of all about one of your favourite topics, satellite broadcasting. I suppose we could say with some confidence that in the past 3 or 4 years satellite television has moved quite a bit nearer.
Well, it's certainly moved 3 or 4 years nearer, but when we actually get it, when it will arrive, is still uncertain, at least as far as a UK high-power satellite is concerned. And as far as the French one, which looks like being the first high-power satellite in Europe, the launch date for that has now moved back to the earliest, November this year, and that means that it certainly won't be in service before 87, or just perhaps a week or two before that.
Now, although you call it the French satellite, this is a service which is going to be available in this country.
It would certainly be available in fairly large parts of the country with quite small dishes, but of course it will not be in the same orbit position as what we hope the UK one will eventually be in.
But this looks fairly certain to be the first high-power satellite service to be available in this country.
Yes, it's likely to be followed fairly quickly, I would think, by a Luxembourg one. The German one, which again was hoped to be in operation 86, there are still certain doubts about what programs it's going to carry.
Let's move on to video discs. Now, my impression there is that that's an item which has gone very, very quiet.
Well, yes, the RCA type of capacitive pickup disc was certainly withdrawn after a very few months and certainly did not go down well. The laser vision discs made both in Europe and in Japan have been rather more successful, and indeed in Japan there is signs that the home market there for discs is actually increasing, both the laser type and the capacitive type. And they're looking into all sorts of new applications for these things. Partly, I think, because in Japan at least, the VCR machine is used mainly for recording off-air and not much for pre-recorded programs.
So in a word, how would you say the position on video disc? Is the future optimistic or pessimistic?
I would say that as a consumer device, it still has the major drawback at the moment that you haven't got a recordable disc, although even that is supposed to be coming within a few years.
OK, then let's mark that one up as progress somewhat hesitant. What about stereo sound in television? We used to discuss that quite a bit.
Yes, certainly in the States they now have a system in operation on more than 100 stations. The number of transmitting companies who've taken it up has been rather less than some people expected at the time, and certainly they're finding all sorts of interesting production problems. But nevertheless, yes, it's coming along, and I suspect that sometime in the future there will be a British system in operation.
And another sound system I clearly remember discussing with you on a number of occasions, quadraphonic sound.
Yes, what we used to call surround sound. The trouble was, I think, that most people realised that there were not all that many consumers who were prepared to have 4 or 5 expensive loudspeakers in their homes. Even if they could afford them, they didn't necessarily have the room for the things.
OK, finally then, let's look at the problem which I suppose concerns us most here at the IBA. That's reception problems for off-air television reception. Presumably there are very few areas in the country now where problems are still bad.
Well, unfortunately, the places where the problems are bad, some of these very remote and difficult places, obviously the people living in those places are becoming more and more vocal. And certainly we still get quite a few people writing in to know when they can expect to get some sort of television service. And also, of course, still some people who are waiting for Channel 4 to arrive in their area, although now we're up to within 1% of the coverage of ITV on Channel 4.
Would you say the position is worse or better than you anticipated a number of years ago?
From coverage point of view, I think you can say it is better, with one slight exception, and that is we have run into some problems over the last year or so because some of the older cable systems have closed down, leaving some quite large gaps in the centres of cities and so on. But we are having to fill those in. A good example of that was Hammersmith, which came on just before Christmas, which was to replace wired systems.
Fine, thanks very much indeed, Pat.
And thank you, Peter. It's nice to have you back at the microphone. Special announcements now, starting at Carradon Hill, where reduced power continues pending repairs to a fault on the transmitting aerial. Some progress has been made, but the weather is proving a problem. At the next opportunity, transmissions will be interrupted during the morning from 8:30 while further work is done, but this will break the programme feeds to Huntshaw Cross, Redruth and their 41 dependent relays.
In South Wales, Monmouth and Tynerwydd were expected off this morning from 9:30 until 12:30. At Tynerwydd, it's weather-dependent aerial work which could be postponed until tomorrow, Thursday or Friday. Also today in West Wales, Bow Street is expected off between 3 and 4 p.m. for essential aerial maintenance.
In Northern Ireland, Limavady continued on reduced power for aerial work, but it's hoped that full power will be restored by the weekend.
Tomorrow morning, Ridge Hill is due to be off from 9:30 until about 10:30 for a change of mast lights, although bad weather could delay this until Thursday or Friday.
In South Wales again, Pennorth is also due off tomorrow between 9 a.m. and 3:30 p.m. This is for Electricity Board maintenance. And at Chepstow, the relay will be off for the same reason between 8 a.m. and 6 p.m.
Further north at Llangurig, the new transmitter there is due off tomorrow morning between 9:30 and 11 for aerial work.
Channel 4 next, and only one conversion coming up soon, and that's at Beecroft Hill in Leeds. The channel is 65, and it's due towards the end of next week.
New relays now, and the first station for this year is Stenning in West Sussex, due on the air at the end of the month. It's designed for 340 people currently without a service in Stenning itself, in Bramber and Upper Beeding, and southwards for a further mile or so. Regional ITV from TVS will be on Channel 62, with Channel 4 on 56. And incidentally, this will also enable several hundreds of people to have a choice of ITV regions, although this is not the object of the exercise. Aerials should be Group E to cater for the low BBC One channel of 45, and they should be vertically polarised. Any viewers using marginal or poor signals from Midhurst or Guildford should change to the new relay if any interference problems arise when it opens. That's the new relay at Stenning, due on air at the end of the month.
We must apologise for the delayed start of our new early morning transmitter information service on Oracle page 297. Software problems last week meant that it was Friday before the new ITV pages appeared. There are transmitter announcements and also national relay progress for the 4th channel. After TVAM at 9:25, the regional service resumes, giving information on Channel 4 progress in detail. Page 597 remains unchanged as our main source of engineering information for the trade, updated as are all the pages from our special terminal in our inquiry office here at Winchester.
Michael Power, also based in our inquiry office, is calling today and tomorrow on members of the trade concerned with recent relays at Winds Hill, Burton-on-Trent, and at Middleton in Greater Manchester. Any special requests for a visit should come by phone to us straight after this broadcast.
And we've vacancies for members of the trade to visit us here at Crawley Court at our meeting planned for next Tuesday, the 21st of January. We include a slide presentation, a tour of the building, plenty of time for discussion and questions, and of course a free lunch. If you're interested, please contact Jackie Weston on Winchester 822403.
And that's all for this week, except for the address to which you should send technical queries on independent television and local radio. It's Engineering Information Service, Independent Broadcasting Authority, Crawley Court, Winchester, Hampshire, SO21 2QA. The telephone number is Winchester, area code 0962 822 444. In the London area, you may find it cheaper to ring our London office on 584 7011, but do ask to be put through to Engineering Information. We hope you'll join us again next Tuesday at the same time on Channel 4 and S4C. Until then, from Murray Nicholson and myself, John Lovell, goodbye from Crawley Court.